Daf Yomi, tractate Bava Batra, page 106b. We started a story in the last few words of the previous Amud, which was, it is related that Rav Papa bought land from a certain man. Rav Papa Zavan Aram Yahu Gavra. And now we're on the top of 106b with the words Amrle. Amrle Havi Nesrin Grivi Mashache Velo Havi Ela Chamesre. Also the coming Diabai Amrle Stavarta Vikibalt. Okay, so Rav Papa bought land from a certain man who, after specifying its demarcations and boundaries, said to him, it is an area of 20 grieve, meaning that it is fit for planting 20 saw of grain. Rav Papa later measured the field and found that it was fit for planting only 15 saw. Rav Papa came before Abaya to sue the seller. Abaya said to him, you knew what you were buying, and accept the field as it is. V'hatanan pachas mishtusiki yoyad shtuski naki. Ani mili hecha delakoim le begavei. Aval ha'echa dikim le begavei sarekavei. Rav Papa raised an objection to Abaya's ruling from the Mishnah, but didn't we learn in the Mishnah that when the seller specifies the field's demarcations and borders, if the difference between the stated size of the field and its actual size is less than 1/6, the field is the buyer's and the sale is valid as is. But if the difference is greater, until it is calculated at 1/6, the seller must deduct the difference from the purchase price. And here, in this case, the difference between what the seller promised and the actual size of the field is greater than 1/6. Abai replied, that statement applies in a case where the buyer is unfamiliar with the plot being sold to him, but in a case where he is familiar with it, he knew what he was buying and accepted it as is. Ha'esrin Amarli Dadifa Kasrin. Rav Papa raised another objection to Abai's ruling, but the seller said to me that the field is fit for planting 20 se'ah, and it is not. Abai said to him, what he meant was that the field is good and as fruitful as one that is fit for planting 20 se'ah. Tanya, I guess, Abai was telling Rav Papa, listen, you bought it. You didn't have to buy it. You didn't have to sign it out online. No one was putting a gun to your head. You heard the guy talking. He said something. You saw the field, and you went with it. Why didn't you measure it beforehand? So probably Rav Papa wouldn't, from that day on, Rav Papa would always measure it before. I don't know. I made that up, but, could very well be. Tanya Rabbi Yosef, Mehalachin Shechal Kukevan, Shalagoy Rechamen, Kanu Kulo, my time, Rabbi Lozo, Kedichaz Israel, it is taught in a Bryce that Rabbi Yossi says, when brothers divide their father's estate between them by lottery, meaning after dividing the property into equal shares, they draw lots to determine which brother is to receive which portion. Once the lot for them is drawn, they all acquire the remainder of the property, and they can no longer retract their decision to divide the estate in this manner. The Gemara asks, what is the reason for this? Drawing lots is not one of the recognized models of acquisition. Rabbi Elazar said the halacha that applies here is similar to the initial division of Eretz Yisrael among the tribes. Just as the initial division of Eretz Yisrael was carried out by drawing lots, so too here the brothers can divide their father's estate by drawing lots. Ma'alehalan b'kalape v'ur v'tumim v'afkan b'klape ur v'tumim v'ravashi v'vano dekot saiti l'adade gamre u'makne l'adade. The Gemara challenges if the brothers' division of the father's estate is comparable to the initial division of Eretz Yisrael, an additional comparison should apply, just as there the initial division of Eretz Yisrael was carried out through the receptacle in which lots were placed, and the Urim Bitumim So to here, the division of the father's estate should be executed only through a receptacle and the Urim V'Tumim. Rav Ashi said, with the satisfaction that each of the brothers receives from the fact that they listen to each other and agree to accept the results of the lottery, they fully transfer ownership to each other. Therefore, the division becomes final as soon as the first lot is drawn. Itmar, we learned, it was stated that the Amarim is about the related issue. Shnei Achim shechalku bolehen es ach memedinas hayam. Rav Amar Batra machloikes u'Shmuel amekametzin. If two brothers divided their father's estate between them, and then later a third brother, of whose existence they had previously been unaware, arrived from overseas, Rav says the original division of the property is void, and the brothers must now redivide the property among the three of them. And Shmuel says the original division is still valid, but the two brothers must each take off a share from their portion and give it to the third brother. Amar le, what's how much? Shmuel doesn't say how much. Amar le Rav Nachman, l'Rav Damar Batel Machloikes, Alma Hadardina Elmiata, Hani B'Tzeraz Dekaime, V'Azul B'Trei Minai Opalug, Hachinami Batel Machloikes. The Gemara clarifies the opinions of Rav and Shmuel. Rav said to Nachman, according to Rav, who says that the division is void, apparently the halacha is that if a division of property was found to have been performed in error, the original verdict is reconsidered and the entire division is void. Accordingly, in the case of the brother who arrived from overseas, the original division of the father's estate is void. But if that is so, then in the case of these three people who stand as partners, and two of them go and divide the property into three parts without consulting with the third partner, so too the division should be void, and it should be necessary to divide the property a second time between the three partners. But elsewhere, above Mitzvah 30 would be, the Gemara indicates that in such a case, if the division of property took place in the presence of a court, it is valid. Hachi hashta. Rav Nachman rejects this comparison, but how can these cases be compared? There is a clear difference between them. There, in the case of the three partners, they enter the process of dividing the property from the outset of the knowledge that they were there. There were three. And it was necessary only to clarify the portion to be received by each partner. Here, in the case of the brother who arrived from overseas, they did not enter the process of dividing the property from the outset with the knowledge that they were three, as at the time of the original division, they thought that there were only two brothers. Rav Papa said to Abaye, Shmuel don't mekamsin lemeimra dekadina. V'ha Rav Shmuel davar tevayu. Kor b'shloishim animachelach. Yachalach sor ba'afilu v'sach roina. Kor b'shloishim sa'al v'sela animachelach rishon kana. Rav Papa said to Abaye, according to Shmuel, who says that the two brothers must each take off a share from their portion and give it to the third brother, is this to say that he is of the opinion that even if a division of property was found to have been made in error, the original verdict stands and the division is valid? But don't Rav and Shmuel both say that if the seller said to the buyer, I'm telling you 1 quart of grain, an amount equivalent to 30, you say, for the sum of 30 selah, he can arrange on the entire sale. He can renege. On the entire sale, even while measuring out the last selah. But if he said, "I'm selling you 1 quart of grain for 30 selah," each selah for a selah, the buyer acquires each selah one by one, as it is being measured to him. If the original verdict stands, why in the first case may the seller renege even on that portion of the sale already reached? Even on the portion of the sale that already reached the buyer.